Hello, welcome to my first review of a game played in the Lichess 45-45 League. This is a league that I have started playing in this year. It's a classical league held on the Lichess platform, and as you'll see from the top here, it's a 45 plus 45 league, so it's quite a nice, steady time control. As I'm going through the game, I'm going to talk to you about sort of the timings that I was taking. We can obviously have a look at the move times, which are down here at certain points. And this is the very first game that I played. I'm playing against another very strong player here. Not somebody who I've played before, but we have very similar ratings, as you can see, both in the low 2100s. Now, any of you who've watched me play Rapid or Blitz will know that I like to alternate between playing c4 or knight f3 first, and I'm going to just whiz through the first few moves of the game, mainly because there isn't anything I can particularly add a lot to. But it's the first time for a little while I've had this type of symmetrical setup, where we've both brought our c pawns out, and we've also got the 4 knights out. Now, very much like my normal English opening repertoire, or when I play knight f3 first, I like to get my white square bishop out fairly early in a fianchettoed position, get my king safe, and then start to think about the centre. Now, the move e5 I wasn't particularly concerned about. You could have played d6, could have castled, and as we see, those moves all get played in fairly short order. Few more moves here. Now, a3 is a move I'm starting to try and play a little bit more. It's a move that I had prepared, but it's probably the extent of my preparation for this game. Mainly, I find in a lot of these games I end up playing things like queen c2, and immediately end up being hit by something like knight b4. So, for example, queen c2, knight b4, and I need to move my queen in a fairly short order. So I'm trying to just stop those types of things from happening. So I play a3. Now, I almost immediately get hit with rook to b8. Now, one of the things I have been looking at in my preparation, these matters sometimes, is playing the move b4 immediately, which is a move that the computer likes. But, in my head, part of me feels like with b4, takes, knight takes. Whilst I can play rook takes a7, the move that I haven't been liking is in playing something like this, and I feel like, even though the computer says I'm winning here, the computer says I'm 2.2, 2.3 up after I play something like queen b3. But in my head, I feel like my rook is very trapped, and it wouldn't take a lot, really, for that rook to come under some pressure, either from this bishop or from this knight. So it's really not something that I like, even though the computer seems to think I'm better. I mean, the computer here wants black to play the knight out. I just don't understand it. And if we play something like d6, well, of course I can take the knight, can't I? So that's the problem. Maybe we can play queen there. Maybe, but okay, maybe that is a little bit better. But it's just not a move that I particularly like. I mean, because c takes, knight takes, rook takes, maybe knight back there. And it's level on pawns, but there is a weak pawn here on b6. So maybe that would have been slightly better. Something I might play when I play his position next time. But anyway, we get a3 and queen c2. Now, after black plays d6, this was a relatively long think for black, playing pawn to d6. I think if we look at the move times here, 9d6, 412 seconds. So, 7 minutes to play that move, which surprised me a little bit, because I thought it was a relatively straightforward move to play d6. Now, the computer likes d5, and I hadn't really prepared anything in response to d5. I would probably take, and then the computer likes bishop out, but I would probably take there first. Queen takes. And then, in this position, it's just fairly equal. There's not a lot happening. So, maybe d5 would have been a better move for black, but I certainly didn't think d6 was a bad move. Now, before bishop g5, I did think, what is my actual plan here? Part of me wants to bring this rook out to here. Bring the rook here. Maybe bring this rook across. And start to think, can I make a pawn break on either of these two squares? But it's not an easy position to think how I'm going to do that. So I thought, bishop out. I can then connect my rooks. Now, fairly swiftly, I think, looking back at my notes, h6 comes. So where are we? Hey, bishop g5, h6, d6, h6 within 2 minutes. So it didn't take like a lot of time. Now, I didn't want to retreat. I had a very clear plan to take, and put my this knight here onto a better square. Again, the computer does like b4, but part of me thinks that is just a bit too ambitious. It's also my first game in the league. It's the first time I've played a longer time control like this for a while, so I'm conscious of being a bit cautious. Now, after knight here, bishop goes back, which again I was expecting, and part of me wanted to play b4 now, but my concern was pawn here, opening up a line of attack for this bishop on here. So the computer actually seems to like it. So I want to explore what that would look like if pawn had come here. Now, oh, that's interesting. The computer just wants me to take. And we go bishop takes, rook takes, and I'm a pawn down in material, bishop and pawn for a rook. But I like the position, but it just feels a bit precarious. I mean, what if takes, bishop here? I mean, the computer says I'm fine, and that knight's going nowhere unless the bishop or the knight takes it. So it's very solid, and I'll just take back with this pawn. So maybe it's a pretty solid position. Queen here, maybe with ideas of coming with the knight here, but again, is there much threat? Moving that rook does nullify that threat. I mean, maybe it's fine, but it doesn't strike me as being an overwhelmingly brilliant position. So we play something a bit more safe. Rook b1, thinking about pushing this pawn to b4 soon. Now, knight there. This move did take me a little bit by surprise. I didn't really understand the point of it, because either way, I'm going to take that knight back. I can't foresee there being any situation where I either play queen to a4 or to a more conservative square. And then black's d-pawns are going to be doubled. So I wasn't really sure what the purpose of this move was. I was expecting bishop e6, and it's a move that the computer likes. At which point I thought about playing something like e4, which the computer doesn't like. But only that doesn't like because of this move. So taking a bit more control, which we'll see this whole area does get blockaded rather soon. So maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I would have thought about going knight back here, but it then just looks a very drawing game. Now, at this stage in the match, our team was 1-0 down, and there was another game going on at the time, which was still in a fairly early stage. So I didn't want to push too hard for a win, but I also didn't want to give up any sort of winning chances. So I thought, okay, let's take. So knight into d4, knight takes, and then e takes d4, which again surprised me, because it's giving up some of the space over here. I thought black was going to play pawn takes here, c takes. Now, that was the move I was preparing for, and if c takes, I was going to play pawn up here, just to try and bolster myself on that side of the board. I didn't really think here that my position was brilliant, but I did think if this was the position we ended up with, I would rather be playing with the white pieces than playing with the black pieces. I thought maybe black could go here, and I then might go pawn there just to bolster the position a bit. Maybe something like f5's coming. Although the computer thinks f5 might be a mistake, but how I'm going to make this into a winning endgame, I just don't know. I don't see it. So knight takes d4, e takes d4, and looking at the clocks now, I have got, after I played knight takes d4, about 27.5 minutes left, and black has got around about 35. So I'm down on time, but plenty of time. With a 45-second increment, I never had any real concerns about getting into any sort of time trouble. It wasn't something I was overly concerned with. Now, I played b4 here, which is a move I've been wanting to think about for a few moves. Ever since I played rook a b1 back on move 13, I've been thinking about how am I going to get this pawn break. Now, b6 comes back, which I thought was quite sensible. And again, I'm now thinking, how am I going to make progress? I'm not concerned about anything like pawn takes there. I'll just go pawn takes back. I wouldn't play rook takes. And when I realised that I wasn't concerned about rook taking, I thought, well, I'll move my rook over, because nothing is happening on this side of the board now. Even though there's pawns looking at each other, I thought the action in this game is going to be on the king's side. And at the moment, prior to this move, this rook isn't really in the game, and this queen isn't really in the game, and I want to get them involved. So I thought, I can't really think of a much better move, so I'm going to slide my rook over. Now, computer doesn't really like it, only puts me down at a 0.6 rather than 0.8, but I thought, well, it's not a bad move. So we'll go with it, and we'll see what happens next. Now, part of my thinking in doing this is, I remember watching other chess streamers and other chess commentators talking about it's important sometimes to be patient. And I think that's one thing I'm trying to be a bit more in my games. Not being passive or defensive, but if I'm not sure where to go next, just try and make my position look a bit better or improve my worst pieces. And in this position, I feel like in terms of my pieces, my knight's on a great square, my bishop's doing absolutely fine, my kingside rook is fine, so let's sort out the queen and the queenside rook. So rook to e1 and black fianchettos the bishop. And I'm not worried about black taking the knight. I'll just take back with the bishop, and then my bishop's got a very good outpost. And even here, I'm thinking, even though if we end up trading off into an endgame where we've both got bishops, that is likely to end up in a draw. But my thinking was, black's pawn structure is a little weaker than mine. Not terrible, but a little bit weaker. So I thought, okay, I'm not too concerned if we end up swapping down, but I'd rather not. We'll see what happens. So I thought I'll bring my queen over, just like before, making minor improvements. And black takes. Now, black gives up the bishop pair, and that bishop now on d5 is going nowhere. And I think it's actually a really good piece. Even though it's now an opposite coloured bishop game, we've still both got queens and rooks on. I thought, in this position, there's no way I'm losing here. I thought the only way I can be losing is if somehow black can get a majority running over here. These three pawns here against these two. What I was thinking was if at some point we swap off these two pawns, then I've got 1, 2 against 1. But I thought I've got so many minor pieces, so many major pieces on the board, plus this fantastic bishop here, covering this square, that it would have to be a really bad set of moves for me to put myself in any trouble on that side of the board. So I thought, I'm doing okay here. Now, king h7, I thought, fine, no issues with that move. Obviously, at the moment, the bishop is pinning that f7 pawn, and black may eventually want to put that pawn out onto f6, f5, f4, try and make some counterplay on this side. So I thought the king over was quite a sensible move. Now, I think this next move was, I took quite a while. Did I over this move? A4, yes, nearly 7 minutes. And I'm quite happy with that move. I did think about playing b5, and the computer seems to like b5 a little bit more. Mainly because I'm thinking, I now have brought all my pieces over onto the king's side. The queen is looking over here. Whoops. Sorry. There we go. The queen's looking over this side of the board. This bishop is looking over this side of the board. And these rooks are coming up this way. And I thought, at the moment, I'm throwing all these forces over here. And I'm still worried about the counterplay on this side. So I thought, I'm going to try and either smash it open, in which case these 2 pawns are weak, or lock it up. And I thought a4 was a good way to do it. Now, I was expecting a5. That was the move I was expecting. Because I also thought, if black takes here, and I take back, then, okay, I've got an isolated pawn here, but black has then got 1, 2, 3 pawn islands. And I thought, that can't be a bad position for me to be in. So I thought, if we get something like a5, I'll just bring the queen back, and I must be winning. And the computer likes it. Not decisively, but the computer likes it. So, again, I was quite happy to see this, and I thought, I'll just push on. So now the queen side is locked down. All the players are going to come on this side. Now, reason for the king going here previously was so that black could now play f5, which the computer doesn't like. And I wasn't quite sure why. Maybe it's a bit too adventurous, but after a bit of a think, I played the move e4. And this was a move which I knew this was going to be my one chance to try and open up the game. Because at the moment, in this position, I've not moved either of these 2 pawns. My rooks are stuck behind them. Intentionally, that's what I wanted to do. But I want to get some counterplay. I want to just make some action, get something happening on the board. So I thought e4. Computer likes g2 for the king, which I don't really see the point of. Let's say rook comes over. Can I play this now? Computer prefers this position. I don't really understand why. It likes f4 for black, which I would probably have played f3, which the computer says is dead equal, and it looks it. It looks completely equal. It's a drawn game. So e4 I liked. And this, apparently now, is the one big mistake in the game, which at the time I didn't really see. I was expecting black to play this, to take the pawn en passant, at which point I would have taken back with the rook, because at the time I thought this would be a really good position. In my head I was thinking, well, if the bishop goes there, I can throw the pawn forward, and then I'm going to be coming in with the rooks, but I had missed bishop there. Now, if that happens, I'm probably going to lose the game. It's still a fairly tight game, but a 1.7, 1.6 disadvantage would not have been ideal. So in this case, we'd probably have had to go here, which may still be met with queen f6, apparently. I still can't move that pawn forward, so it becomes a very tight game. Now, just going back to the move where black actually takes e4, which I was very happy to see. I knew I was going to play rook takes, and right now is where I think I must be winning this game. I didn't think it would be a +3 advantage, but I thought each of my pieces are in brilliant squares. This rook is doing nothing. It's doing absolutely nothing in this game. It can't come here to try and help on the 7th rank, and the computer likes it going to c8. This rook is doing very little. It's looking at this pawn that's defended 3 times, and there's nothing happening on this file. It can't go here. It can't go there. There's a few restrictions. But the key, I thought, was the bishops. This bishop is looking right into black's position, covering all those squares. This bishop's doing nothing, just covering those 2 squares. So I thought I must be better here. Rook e8, and immediately doubling up, because I want to bring a rook to this square and put pressure on there. That's my goal now. And if we see this happen, takes, and g5 was a move made, which I could not understand this move for the life of me. I thought, why when black has got a dark squared bishop, is black putting another pawn on dark squares, it makes it so much easier for me to either move my queen over here and come in this way, or for my bishop to come to this square. It just didn't make any sense to me. I was expecting a move like queen at f6 or queen there, try and maybe swap the queens off. But even so, I think it's a difficult position for black. And we see it can all quite quickly fall apart now. I get my rook in. I'm looking at this square. And very quickly now, this all starts to fall apart. And the moves, I end up moving quite quickly here. You see by the bar. Because the moves come quite naturally, I think it's quite straightforward how to finish this game. I bring the queen in with check. King has to go back, can't go back to g8 because then I will move my rook over here with a discovered attack. And very quickly, it's all just going to unravel. So, king goes back, queen in, now threatened in this pawn. I knew the queen was going to go over here, and it all quickly unravels now. No point playing this, I don't think. Computer still likes it and still says I'm winning, but I didn't think it was going to make much difference. So we take that pawn. I could foresee the rook coming over here, and I thought I still don't want to swap because it's an opposite colour bishop's endgame. I'm probably still going to win, but it's a bit harder. But I did see how to win this way. Bring the rook then to d7. Attack this pawn immediately and block it, and you'll see how that happens in just a minute. King comes over. I throw in a check just to push the king back. Just again, it costs me nothing to do, and it probably helps me in the long run. Rook over there. Rook comes to f6, and the last move of the game, bishop c6, following which black resigned. So it was a game that in the end only lasted 35 moves, but actually quite a lot happened, and it was a game I was very happy with. The plans that I made all seemed to come to fruition. I didn't really let black get any counterplay. And ironically, one of the moves which the computer of mine doesn't like actually turned out to be the move that prompted a mistake from black. So, all in all, a very happy game, and I shall do more as we play in the league. See you again soon. Bye-bye.